This is what you call a presentation? Jungkook's voice dropped into a deep, commanding tone. His eyes dark, sharp, fixed onto a man in front of him. The entire meeting room went silent. He spoke again, each word heavy and sharp. This is how you work, and this is what I pay you for. The employee standing before him lowered his head immediately, shoulders shaking. He couldn't speak. No one ever could. Not in front of Jeon Jungkook, the CEO of Jeon Enterprise, respected, powerful, and mature enough to tear anyone apart with a single command. Every other employee feared him. Not a single person dared to speak, not in front of him. They all knew that one mistake could cost them their job. And now, this is exactly what was happening. The employee finally managed to speak, his voice trembling. Sir, I am sorry I didn't notice that error in that file. He swallowed hard and looked up with pleading eyes. Please, sir, give me one last chance. I'll fix it right away. His voice trembled, fear mixing in each word. Suddenly Jungkook stood up. All the employees stood on their feet after him. 10 minutes, he continued, tone colder than ice. I'll give you exactly 10 minutes. Fix it and bring it to my cabin. His gaze hardened. And if you're not done, then prepare to leave this job. His voice was so cold that every other employee felt shiver down their spine. The man nodded instantly. Then Jungkook turned and walked out without another glance. Only when he left did the employee finally let out the breath they didn't even realize how long they had been holding. On the other hand, one stood by the kitchen counter, her hands carefully working as she made a cake, a simple homemade cake she was preparing for herself because she was craving it. She always loved sweets. She was fond of them ever since childhood. But from childhood, no one ever cared about what she liked and not. No one ever asked. No one ever noticed. And because of that, she had become unwanted by her own parents. They never loved her. They never cared for her. They always made her feel like she was nothing but a burden in their lives. Nothing more. Her eyes slowly lifted to the clock on the wall. It was barely 10. She knew Jungkook would come home at any moment now. Her husband, Jeon Jungkook, the powerful, respected CEO whose very name could make anyone shiver down their spine. They had been married only a few weeks ago. It was a forced marriage for both of them, done for business benefits, not for his company, but for her father's, and being a very close friend of Mr. Jeon, her family had made her marry Jeon Jungkook. But somewhere within these few weeks of marriage, she had somehow fallen for Jungkook. Everything about him made her fall for him. His care, his gentleness, the quiet way he treated her with a softness she had never experienced before. Something no one had ever given her. But she had already accepted her reality, accepted the truth to herself that maybe one day he would also leave her too, just like her parents did, because who would want it for their whole life? Sooner or later, he would also get fed up with her. As she continued making the cake, lost in her thoughts, suddenly a voice came echoing through. What are you doing in the kitchen? Jungkook's deep voice came from behind her. Once startled, her body jerking slightly, she quickly turned around to look. Jungkook standing across from her, his face cold and unreadable, just like always. He slowly glanced around the kitchen before his eyes returning to her. Slowly, he took a step closer, his voice dropping even lower. If you wanted to eat cake, you can tell someone. They will bring it to you. Why do you need to do anything in the kitchen? His voice was cold, firm. One slowly raised her hand and began signing carefully. I always make cake when I crave it. For a split second, Jungkook's eyes softened. Just a second. Then they return to their usual coldness. Still, I have already told you. You don't have to do any worse. There are maids here. If you want something, ask them. His voice was deep and firm. You don't need to do all of this. One lowered her eyes and nodded silently. Jungkook's gaze drifted downwards and stopped on her hoodie, that same oversized hoodie she had been wearing repeatedly for weeks. Yes, he noticed. He had noticed everything about her during this week of their marriage. His jaw tightened slightly before he looked back at her. Tomorrow at 10. Get ready. His voice was cold and deep. We are going for shopping. One blink in confusion. Her brow knitted. She raised her hand again, signing. Shopping? Why? Then Jungkook leaned slightly closer, his voice slower, huskier. You will know tomorrow. With that, he turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving her standing there with confusion still clouding her eyes. Letting out a soft sigh, Wine went back to finishing her half-made cake. Jungkook and Wine both arrived at the luxury shopping mall. Jungkook walked ahead with his calm, confident step, while behind him Wine followed like a lost puppy, quiet, small, unsure. Her curious, innocent eyes roamed over the massive mall. Everything around her looked so expensive that she felt scared even to touch a single thing. Jungkook's eyes slightly shifted towards her. He noticed those wide doe-like eyes taking everything in its place. They stepped inside a high-ended luxury boutique. Without saying anything, Jungkook picked up a dress and held it up in front of Wine. Then his gaze slowly traveled to her face. One's eyes immediately widened. She understood. He was buying clothes for her. Quickly, she gestured with her hands, asking, "What are you doing? I don't need anything." But Jungkook didn't respond. He casually handed the dress to the shop assistant and said in a cold, deep voice, "This one." Wan's heart began to race. Then Jungkook started picking out dresses, one after another, expensive, beautiful pieces for her. She panicked, reached out, gently holding his waist, shaking her head quickly. She signed to him again carefully. "I don't need any dress. Please don't buy anything for me." Jungkook frowned, his eyes narrowing. "Then what do you think I came here for?" he asked, his voice low. One pouted slightly, looking up at him with her innocent, confused eyes. Then she gestured again. "I thought you come to buy something for yourself." Jungkook just shook his head calmly, but he still didn't respond. He picked up another beautiful dress and held it out towards her. "Try it," he said. Wan's eyes widened again. She shook her head immediately and sighed. "It's too expensive. Please, not this one." He simply turned to the shop assistant and said in the same cold tone, "Make her try it." The assistant smiled politely and said, "Ma'am, come this way." One closed her eyes tightly and sighed, because she knew there was no point of protesting. After wearing that beautiful dress, One stepped out and stood quietly in front of Jungkook. The moment Jungkook's eyes landed on her, something in his expression softened. That blue floral dress hugged her small frame so perfectly it looked like it had been made only for her. He didn't even realize how long he had been looking at her. Then, with slow, calculated steps, he began walking towards her. Instinctively, One stepped back a little, but Jungkook didn't stop. He came even closer until his towering figure was standing right in front of her. Gently, he reached out and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. Then, in a cold, deep voice, he said, "This one too." Wine's eyes widened. Immediately, she raised her hand and signed, "It's really expensive. Please, not this one. At least not this one." But Jungkook didn't let her finish. He cut her off and looked towards the shop assistant. This one too. Wan's heart dropped. She knew how expensive that dress was, and Jungkook was buying it without even glancing at the price tag. After a few minutes later, Jungkook was at the counter paying the bills. Wan stood a little far from him, waiting quietly. Then something caught her attention. Then her eyes drifted towards a jewelry shop nearby. A simple, beautiful chain bracelet caught her attention. Her innocent, curious eyes were drawn to it. And before she even realized it, her feet moved towards the shop. She stood there silently, admiring that bracelet. Suddenly a shopkeeper spoke. "Ma'am, do you need anything?" One startled, quickly looking up at him. She immediately shook her head, signing no. She was about to turn around when a strong hand suddenly wrapped around her waist. She looked up at him with those wide and confused eyes. Jungkook in a deep cold voice said to the shopkeeper, "Pack that bracelet." The shopkeeper nodded instantly. One tugged lightly on Jungkook's sleeve, signing quickly, "No, please, you are already buying so much. Not this one." But Jungkook ignored every word. He was already paying for the bracelet, completely calm. After that he took her hand firmly in his own and asked in a deep voice, "Do you need anything else?" One shook her head wildly. Jungkook let out a small, soft chuckle. Then the two of them walked out of the shop. The car stopped in front of Jeon mansion. Jungkook turned his head towards Hwan, only to find her already fell asleep in the passenger seat. Her soft, delicate figure, her innocent sleeping face, everything about her looked even more perfect like this. Without saying a single word, Jungkook stepped out of the car, walked around to her side and carefully opened the door. He leaned in, sliding one arm under her knees and the other around her back. Slowly, gently, he lifted her up into his arms. She didn't wake up, not even a little. Her head simply dropped softly against his chest. Jungkook held her securely and carried her inside the house. Once he entered the bedroom, he gently laid Wine onto the bed. But then, without hesitation, he also lay down beside her, and gently he pulled her into his arms. As soon as his arms wrapped around her, even in her sleep, Wine moved instinctively. She hugged him by the waist, her small hands clutching the fabric of his shirt, her face snuggled into his chest, sneaking warmth, comfort. His hand immediately wrapped around her waist. Pulling her even closer, a soft chuckle escaped him, the rarest one, the kind of smile he didn't give to anyone else, only her. He never thought he would fall for someone this deeply. It was indeed a forced marriage for him, but over time he realized how important she had become in his life, how deeply he had begun to fall for her, started to love her. Then he pulled her more closer, one hand resting securely on her waist, the other resting gently on her back. But sleep did not come for him. His mind was thinking about things he couldn't say aloud. Now Jungkook sat in the meeting room with the other big deal partners. Beside him sat Mr. Kim, Wan's father, his face scratched into a bright, smug smile, as if he had already won everything. The presentation began. Jungkook's eyes stayed locked on the screen, scanning every single detail with cold, calculating focus. When the presentation finally ended, Jungkook leaned back slightly, said in a deep, chilling voice, "I'm not interested in this deal anymore." Mr. Kim's eyes widened instantly. He snapped his head toward Jungkook, shock written all over his face. "What?" he shuddered. Jungkook's tone remained calm, cold, and completely as he replied, "There is no profit in this deal. I'm sure everyone here can see that too." His voice carried through the room with authority. The other men started murmuring among themselves. Mr. Kim's face drained of color. He couldn't understand what was happening. One of the dealers finally spoke. Yes, Mr. Kim, there is no real profit here. Another dealer followed immediately. Mr. June is right, and if there is no profit, then why would we deal with you? I'm sorry, we can't. Mr. Kim's eyes widened even more. Meanwhile, Jungkook simply leaned back in his chair, watching the everything with a calm, unreadable expression. He already knew about this. If he backed out, everyone else would back out too. He already knew everything Wan's parents had done to her. He had found out everything right after the marriage, but he didn't do anything immediately. He waited for the right moment to let them know what humiliation feels like, to know them what it feels like when everything falls apart right in front of you. Now it was happening. Mr. Kim looked at Jungkook. Mr. Jeon, how can you do this? You already promised me this deal. And now you all, how can you all cancel it? His voice began to break. Don't cancel it, please. If you cancel this deal, my company will go bankrupt. Suddenly, Jungkook stood up from his chair. He looked at Mr. Kim, his expression completely cold and emotionless. His voice was low and cold. I'm sorry, but I can't do anything. There is no profit in your deal, so my company will not be working with you. Without giving Mr. Kim another glance, Jungkook walked out of the meeting room. Jungkook stepped out of the meeting room. Mr. Kim immediately rushed towards him and stood directly in front of him. Jungkook, he said, his voice almost desperate. Your father already promised me this deal. How can you cancel it? You are my son-in-law. You can't do this. Jungkook casually tucked his hand into his pocket and said in a deep voice, Do you really think I didn't know anything about that? Mr. Kim's face went blank. He didn't understand anything. Then, in a deep, commanding tone, Jungkook continued. You ended all the contracts with my wife after the marriage. Do you really think I didn't know why you did this? His gaze pierced straight through Mr. Kim, unreadable. I know everything, and now, for your own company's benefit, you come to me. Well, I'm sorry, but I have to see my own company's benefit in there too. Mr. Kim's face turned pale. His voice trembled as she stammered. I didn't end the contract with her. Mean, I just. But Jungkook didn't let him finish. His voice cut through the air, deep and final. You may leave now. Then he turned and walked away, leaving Mr. Kim alone, standing there, frozen, speechless, defeated.